It's Hello, everybody. Welcome to Under the Helmet.
Woo!
We got Dylan and Eli here. Woo!
Heyo.
And today, as you can guess, we're going to be talking about what are we going to be talking about today? What do you think?
I haven't the foggiest idea, really. I'm sure there's not even a slight clue, judging by your choice of attire for this episode.
Nah, I'm just under a helmet.
There you go.
Just kidding. We're talking about good old Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, that first episode, man.
Apparently, and we'll get into this, but some people aren't very happy with the first episode. Apparently, there is some backlash going on with the episode. News to me. I enjoyed it, but we can get into that. But before we do that, I just want to say, everybody, I'm going to plug YouTube real quick. Drop a like, comment, subscribe. You know how it is.
Let us know what you think.
Yes, let us know what you think, please. If you thought the helmet bit was stupid, please call me.
Tell us whose helmet is better.
I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yours is the classic.
It is the classic. It is the classic.
Yours is the OG Mando.
Absolutely.
There was no one before there was Boba Fett.
Exactly. Talking of Boba Fett, he's got a book.
He does. It's a pretty great book.
But it's a TV show.
It is. It's slightly confusing.
I tried to read it. It didn't work. Okay, so Book of Boba Fett, episode 1. Before we get started, what are your thoughts on the episode? What did you like about it? What did you dislike? Let's go.
I really didn't have anything that I disliked about it. Can I talk spoiler?
Let's do a quick non-spoiler, just saying, all right.
No spoilers. Dude, just comprehensively, that first episode was like, for a pilot episode, that was an amazing pilot episode, because you get just everything that it feels like you need to really kick things off. Like, you have a bit of like callback to where we just left them, and then we start getting into like what the plot of the main series is going to revolve around, and it sort of starts running through what that's going to be. There's a couple little, returning character cameos, which we love to see in our Star Wars shows, movies, everything. And just the fight scenes are so good.
Absolutely.
They're so good. Getting to see Tamura bringing in some of his native, like Maori. Oh, I'm positive I'm butchering that. But like his native fighting styles is it's so cool.
Absolutely. And he is a beast for him.
Oh, he's an absolute freaking
beast. Like when I saw that like scene of him like in the back to tank, we'll segue into spoilers now. Obviously, I liked the episode. Some people didn't, and I'm probably going to title this episode something about why you're wrong about the Book of Boba Fett, because apparently people didn't like it. So we're going to talk about why they're wrong today.
I don't get. Honestly, I haven't like seen much about Book of Boba Fett except for. So wait, we're spoilers. Spoilers.
Yeah, we're spoilers now. We're in
okay. Good. A lot of comparisons to that one Mortal Kombat character. Because of the forearmed, like,
the forearm guy. So
yeah.
So I actually thought really funny. Thought that somebody posted. It said Book of Boba Fett spoilers out of context. Yeah. And it was just the Pokemon Machamp.
Dude,
I saw that and I was like, that's funny. That's pretty funny. Well, apparently, so the monster that Boba kills in the desert is apparently in the original Hollow Chest. It's one of the creatures in Hollow Chest.
Wait, you're kidding?
No, it really is.
What?
So that's the design for that creature came from. So it's not like it's like, it's never been seen before. It's an actual creature in canon. I don't know what it's called. I'll have to call my friend that knows more than me.
Four-armed thingamabob.
Yeah, four-armed creature. Also, it was so weird when it was walking on its like just 2 legs. It looked so weird. I was here for it. Like, it was like straight up sci-fi. I loved it.
It's just like, what's that strange thing? I have no idea.
As soon as the Rodian found that arm, I was like, oh no, this is gonna be bad.
So thing about the Rodian, guess what?
What?
That guy is voiced by Sam Witwer,
What?
as in, you know, the
Yeah,
guy.
like Darth
Star
Maul.
Killer, voices Palpatine, voices Maul. Yeah.
That's pretty
Well,
awesome.
yeah.
I did not know that. I did not know that going in. So that I learned something today.
It was so
Never knew about the
freaking
episode.
cool.
But yeah, so I want to kind of get into a little bit of kind of the backlash that I've heard is that people are kind of upset with some of the more technical aspects of the episode where they say like, oh, it's a slow burner, it's a slow start. I mean, yeah, not
It's
every
a pilot episode.
exactly, it's a pilot episode. It gave you enough to intrigue you into wanting more, but it wasn't like beating you over the head with exposition every 10 minutes. Like people are
Right.
saying, I saw one person say, oh, you should have spent more time with him getting out of the Sarlacc. I was like, no, that's not the story. That's not relevant to that story.
That's him getting digested for a couple hours before he's like, all right, I'm done with this. Punch a hole through monster.
That
Light
was
monster
amazing.
on fire.
I think that was the perfect depiction of him getting out of the Sarlacc. Now, apparently Legends goes into more details and there's, more that he did. I haven't read the Legends version of him getting out of the Sarlacc. I know he blows up his jetpack or something like that, but
yeah, something like that.
I liked this version. And I saw somebody say, oh, he can't even do that because there's no oxygen. Not true. So if you look closely in the shot of the when you first see the body of the stormtrooper when Boba's gasping for air, you see little green gas floating up. That is what Boba was choking on. He wasn't choking due to lack of oxygen.
Oh yeah, it's the
he was choking from the gases coming up from the stomach acid.
Okay, that
So
makes sense.
that's why he had to pull for the oxygen. So little things there. And I mean, it's not a huge deal. But then
No.
the person used that point to segue into, oh, well, then his flamethrower shouldn't have worked because there was no oxygen, and you need oxygen to create fire. Well,
Honestly, it's
exactly. I was kind of like,
a
all right,
series with
it's
space
sci-fi.
wizards.
It's a little
and
nitpicky,
light
but
speed travel.
I do have to give him the point. I was like, hey, that's pretty smart. I will admit, I didn't
It is
think of
smart.
that, but I went back and like watched it. And the problem was it was the gas he was choking on. He wasn't choking due to lack of oxygen. I can see how that could be interpreted though. So I'm not bashing that person too hard because it makes sense, But anyways, so another thing is that people are saying that Boba Fett is not really Boba Fett, that he was kind of broken down a little bit, that he was kind of weak in this episode.
I mean, he was getting broken down by stomach acids.
Yes.
I don't imagine that's kind to a person.
No, I don't. I actually have a whole presentation going into that, So last night I was doing some more research, kind of preparing for this topic. And this is where I saw a lot of the criticism, a lot of the backlash, and some other podcasts I follow. They kind of had a very similar say where they were like, the episode was all right, but some people just like one of the hosts on this one that I watched just straight up didn't like it. And that's why I'm, kind of getting some of this stuff from, but it's like, oh, and then I did some more research and apparently it's a lot of people were not really a big fan of the episode, which it's okay. We're all allowed to like different things.
Yeah.
But I think I found a pretty good in-universe reason as to why Boba is the way he is in the first episode.
Okay.
And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to, right here.
I'm going to sit back for Boba Fett 101.
Sit back for why you're wrong for hating on Boba Fett. I
mean, he's Boba Fett, so there's reason number one.
So I definitely spent way too much time on this last night. This is a labor of love.
The glare that he's giving me right now.
Exactly. I saw that image and I was like, that is the title screen. Because you should be judged for hating on our boy Boba Fett. So let us get started. So I'll move my thing real quick. So the introduction and my thesis. I scheduled this like an academic thing because I'm a nerd. This is Boba Fett is considered by many to be the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy in both Star Wars canon and Legends. However, after the release of the Book of Boba Fett, Episode 1, many in the fandom were upset and claiming Boba is acting out of character in the first episode. Many believe this is because Boba is perceived to be physically weaker when compared to some of his other canon feats. And I can see where they're getting that from. He's definitely taking some damage. He's not, just flying around and just, shooting people with the rockets. Like, I don't know if you ever saw the Robot Chicken skit where Boba Fett comes out and he's like, back from the dead, a-holes, and he's like blowing people up, and it's kind of like a fever dream. So I think Boba Fett at times can be kind of perceived as more cool as he is.
Yeah.
When in canon, disregarding the comics, because I've seen some of the War of the Bounty Hunter comics. He does some pretty cool stuff in those books.
Paints his armor black.
Absolutely.
Badass.
Yeah, climbing out of the Sarlacc. But before The Mandalorian, Boba Fett's only notable feat in canon, this is before the release of The Mandalorian, before the release of, the War of the Bounty Hunters comics and release of Book of Boba Fett, the only noticeably cool thing he does is he turns his head when Luke pulls his blaster out in Empire. And then there's Return of the Jedi, where he kind of gets pumped. So people are saying, oh, is that a character? Actually, I argue that's entirely in character for Boba Fett to get pumped. But the fact that he keeps coming back and his persistence is why part of the reason why he's beloved as a character so much is because he's able to come back from, the jaws of death and literally claw his way out with nothing more than a flamethrower, some grit and some determination.
I mean, even back in the Clone Wars, this guy's getting knocked down.
Exactly. Boba's not infallible. But I think if Boba was this perfect, ace marksman, perfect across the board badass, people would get bored of him very quickly. It's like, yeah, he looks cool, but there's no substance there. I think this is a better direction for the character. But I'll get into that. So I'm just going to kind of finish off here. I disagree in the strongest possible terms and plan to use this presentation to prove that is a good reason for Boba to be the way he is in the Book of Boba Fett. You can tell I finished this at midnight and proofread at midnight. Things will get a little bit past you that late. And elaborating on why he appears to be, air quotes here, nerfed. Also, I'm looking over at another screen, so if you see me I'm not dozing away, I'm just looking at a different screen.
No, I gotcha.
It's a little bit bigger. So before we get started, upon the release of Book of Boba Fett Episode 1, I was shocked to find the lukewarm to negative response to the first episode in the series. This analysis will look into that response and highlight why, in the canon Star Wars universe, this makes sense for Boba. As stated above, I will not be using legend sources for this analysis. I will stick to what is currently known in the Star Wars canon as of 1/3/2022. It is today, day of recording. I'll probably get the podcast out the same day, but it might come out tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure. So, and a little bit of common sense. My sources will be listed at the end of this essay, and I will be citing several lines of dialogue from the movies where Boba appears and a couple different appearances in series, including the Book of Boba Fett Episode 1 and The Mandalorian. So, to help date this podcast, only Episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett has come out. So, what that means, whatever
Episode
happens,
2 comes out.
Exactly. Episode 2 could come out and just completely sink this ship. That is okay. I'm fine with wasting my life. All right.
Is it really wasting your life? It's on Boba Fett.
No, it's not. It was actually really fun. All right. So to start, we're going to look at some of Boba Fett's physiology. So to quote Lama Su in Attack of the Clones, Boba Fett is an unaltered clone of the bounty hunter Jango Fett. This is important because people are saying, oh, well, he's, physically stronger. He's not. He is, as described by Lama Su, pure genetic replication. No tampering with the structure that makes it more docile and no growth acceleration. So there is nothing special about Boba. He's just a copy paste of Jango Fett's genes. So basically he's Jango Fett too, but he's Boba, which is fine. That's just the in-canon definition of his physiology. Now he's definitely a peak human, he's definitely in peak shape, but you can definitely tell, he goes through the ringer, and I'll go into this in a little bit more detail later, but he goes through the ringer, and After a while, that weighs in your body. So this is the part that I had to do math for, which I was proud of. So Boba Fett was born at 32 BBY. My source for this is Wikipedia, which makes him about 36 years old whenever he went to the Sarlacc Pit, and 42 years old when he finds Fennec Shand in the desert, because Return of the Jedi takes place, in 4 ABY after the Battle of Yavin, so it's 4 years after A New Hope, which is Return of the Jedi. And then 5 years after Return of the Jedi is Mandalorian season 1, which is why I say when he finds Fennec Shand in the desert, because we don't know exactly when Mandalorian season 2 takes place. It's kind of unclear from the sources I've found, but I'm assuming they run concurrently. So I'd say 5 to 6 years after Return of the Jedi. I'm gonna round down at 5, but it could very well be 6. So I said it's unclear. So time on Mandalorian season 2 is unclear, and it isn't a stretch to infer that Boba, by the time of the events of Mandalorian season 2, is about 43 years old. And now, as evidenced by the episode, skipping ahead. Boba was clearly injured after his exodus from the Sarlacc, and this condition was worsened by the 5 years spent in the harsh suns of Tatooine without any form of proper medical treatment. Like, the Tusken squirted that little slug thing in his mouth, but that's it. It didn't really do too much to him. Now, mind you, he was dehydrated, he was beaten, he was dragged to the desert, and that's just in episode 1. That's all that has happened in episode 1.
Right.
As a regular human, if I was dragged through the desert and dehydrated, I'd be a little weak, and it takes a little bit of time to recover. And I'm a relatively healthy 23-year-old man. So just imagine how this would do to a 43-year-old man or a 36-year-old man, who's starting to decline in his physicality, but yet is still just going through it. And also, this leads to my next point. Why Tatooine is bad for your health. One of the most defining features of Tatooine is its twin suns and harsh desert. Due to that, it is reasonable to assume that the suns and harsh desert environment rapidly age those who live under them when compared to those living under one sun, like on the planet Earth. To demonstrate this, I'm going to present several other humans who have lived under these conditions for extended periods of time. Exhibit A, we've got Owen and Beru Lars. This is them right at the end of the Clone Wars. So 19 BBY. Yep. This is them in 0 BBY. 19 years go from looking like,
the happy,
I would say late 20s, early 30s here.
They look newlyweds.
Newlyweds. Well, they were yes, they are newlyweds, actually.
Oh, shoot.
Because I believe they were married sometime during the Clone Wars, because Owen introduces Beru as his girlfriend in episode 2.
Oh, yeah.
In episode 3, it's Obi-Wan who drops him off with them. So, speaking of Obi-Wan, good old Ewan right here. Looking, again, mid-30s, we'll say. Pretty young, handsome man. After just 19 years on Tatooine. Look at the physical decline. See how harsh that environment is. It's almost doubled his aging.
Well, I mean, there are 2 suns.
Exactly. So, with that, it's reasonable to assume that living on Tatooine for extended periods of time, especially like he's not living in some big city. He's not even probably living in a house. He's living in a hut with the Tusken Raiders. You think that's not going to exacerbate any underlying health conditions? Anyways, next point. Why the Sarlacc is also bad for your health.
I'm loving this. This is so good.
Jabba the Hutt, through C-3PO, describes the Sarlacc as, in his belly, you will find a new definition of pain and suffering. A new definition of pain and suffering. So any pain and suffering that Boba has experienced before, this trumps that because it's a new definition of it. As you are slowly digested over 1,000 years, as you can clearly see by the stormtrooper inside, it takes some time. The stormtrooper's probably been in there since the events of A New Hope, if not earlier. And you can see the decay on his armor, and you can see what it does to him. So when Boba awakened in the Sarlacc Pit, he realized the reality of the situation he was in and was able to survive through ingenuity, grit, and his flamethrower. So ingenuity is being able to pluck the oxygen tank from the stormtrooper, and having that knowledge to go, okay, there's a stormtrooper. They've got oxygen in their suits. All right, give me some breathe. Give me some time to think. All right, now I've got the grit to, number one, punch through the stomach lining. Number two, to climb out of being basically buried alive. And his flamethrower, because he torched them up.
Oh yeah.
All right, so next up, the stomach acid infused inside the belly of the Sarlacc slowly disintegrates and absorbs whatever falls inside, as evidenced by the dead stormtrooper. As you can see, the stormtrooper was not just like slumped. He was sitting there. He was being absorbed by the Sarlacc. So if Boba hadn't reawakened, he would have been absorbed into the Sarlacc over time. He would have basically been slowly poisoned to death, and then he would have, probably lulled to sleep, and then that was it. The condition of the fallen trooper's armor, the paint, the condition of Boba's armor, the paint on Boba's armor after he was out of the Sarlacc, and the condition of Boba's jumpsuit shows that the stomach acid of the Sarlacc is incredibly powerful, and exposure to it is hazardous. This is the external stomach acid. Not to mention, you can also see the scarring and stuff on Boba's face, which is in the next slide. But as you can see, it does some damage. Like, it's able to chip the paint off a Beskar. It is melting, as you can see right here. So right here, it is melting the plastoid of the Stormtrooper's armor. That's some pretty powerful stuff. Not to mention all the gases that he inhaled before he woke up, and all that he had to go through when he was climbing out. I mean, that's pretty rough. That's pretty heinous stuff, and it's gonna do a number on your lungs. I mean, if, say for example, I go around and I inhale poisonous gas for, let's say, 30 seconds. That's going to mess my lungs up for life.
Boba's essentially been huffing a tailpipe cocktail for, say, like an hour.
Exactly. And that's rough. That's rough on your body.
I'm surprised that he was not tripping balls when he got out of that thing.
He probably was. That's why he passed out, because he got some fresh oxygen in his lungs, and he was like, I'm tripping, boy. So, also, we're going to go to a lifetime of torment. Boba Fett has also experienced a long life and career as a bounty hunter. He was a bounty hunter as a kid. There's literal comics of Jango training him how to be like the baddest bounty hunter in the galaxy when he was like 8. Not to mention Attack of the Clones shows that Boba's like well in his right. He knows his stuff.
Oh yeah.
And also, like how I was saying on the other slide, look at this image right here of Boba on the far right. See how worn and scarred his face is.
Does not have eyebrows.
Exactly, it doesn't have eyebrows. Which means, hypothetically, because he came out of the Sarlacc with no eyebrows too. So that means the Sarlacc stomach acid. We can reasonably infer, unless Boba Fett shaves his eyebrows and has decided to stop, the Sarlacc stomach acid melted the eyebrows off of his face and any other hair in his body. So, Boba is smooth. He is like a newborn baby under that Beskar. Hot takes from under the helmet. All right. So during his lifetime, Boba has been through the ringer and definitely has experienced some injuries in some way, shape, or form, but he's always come back from them, which, because he's Boba Fett. Injuries compound with age. Let's say I get stabbed at 20. When I get to be 35, I'm gonna be feeling that. I've had friends who are athletes who hurt their shoulder or hurt their knee, and it still hurts them like years later. Like I've got a buddy that hurt his knee at 18, his shoulder at 18. It still hits him at 28, 10 years later. Imagine where he's going to be at 38. So it's pretty rough. So the fact that Boba's in good a shape as he is shows how resilient he is. Exposure to the Sarlacc stomach acid and gases, which are shown to be lethal as to the dead stormtrooper inside, along with the hostile clan of Tatooine, would kill any normal human. So the fact that he survived that alone, pretty badass, I would say. Boba is also taken by the Tusken Raiders and does not receive proper medical treatment for his injuries for at least 5 years closer to 6, but I'm gonna lowball it and say 5. So 5 years, he's in the desert, basically getting what I would assume is like essential oil or treatment to a broken arm, or to like it's not gonna do too much. Like they're gonna do their best, but due to this, he has to take long Bacta baths. And as you can see, the Bacta is rejuvenating his skin, as evidenced by the fact that he can regrow eyebrows, his scarring has gone down, which shows the Bacta baths are effective. They're working, but they take time.
Yes.
I also went back and rewatched the episode, and interestingly, when Boba gets out of the bath, it doesn't say bath completed. It says suspended, meaning he was going to be in that bath for longer, but he was taken out prematurely. So he's not at 100%. He's probably at 90%, but still adds up quick. So now we're going to talk about the assassin fight, which is where a lot of people have trouble with, where they say Boba was weak because of this fight with the assassins.
Dude, he took so much punishment. And
He did.
Go down.
There's multiple scenes of him just getting tossed onto the ground, but he keeps getting back up and he keeps, kicking some ass. But we're going to talk about that. So Boba and Fennec Shand were jumped and surrounded by a group of assassins using very uncommon weaponry. How many times have we seen portable shields in Star Wars canon? Only 2 times.
Are we counting all the times in the Clone Wars?
2 times I can think of. Yeah.
Because there was the Citadel.
Electro shields. Oh, I forgot about the Citadel. So you got one on me.
Oh, that was such a good arc.
Yes.
It hurts to watch.
I was gonna say the Citadel. Well, now the Citadel, Republic Prison.
Yep.
Because the clones in the Republic Prison have them, and the Gungans in Episode 1 have the portable shields. So it's safe to say that weaponry is very, very uncommon. Not a lot of people carry those in the galaxy.
It doesn't make a lot of sense though, because everybody gets shot at.
Exactly. Everybody gets shot at, but not a lot of people. I mean, if you're walking around wearing a basic walking shield like Boba is, you're not going to really need to carry one, but
true.
And that's true. There are some Mandalorian gauntlets that have little circle shields. So
yeah,
there's that. But those aren't big enough to surround,
cover your entire body.
They aren't big enough to, with a squad of people, basically surround.
Right.
So while in that circle, Boba and Fennec hold their own despite 3-1 odds, because there's 6 assassins, 2 of them, 3-1 odds.
Right.
And they even survived the fight with the timely intervention. I said help here, but timely intervention of Boba's Gamorrean allies, which actually turns the tide of the battle, where Boba and Fennec are able to kill 3 of them before they even get away, along with the Gamorreans.
Yeah.
And then as they're fleeing, Boba kills 1. Boba trades blows with the assassins and holds his own until what is pictured below. This scene in particular is interesting to me because he's getting hit twice. He's getting hit once in the front and once in the back. What I noticed about this shot, though, what's interesting to me, is that this is a kidney shot.
I thought your kidneys were in the back.
It depends. So if you get what's called a kidney shot, because basically when you get hit in that part of the body, it's like getting hit in the kidneys. And it's also at the front of his body, but it's also in the side of his body as well, where his armor is, where he has no armor. So it's like getting punched through a t-shirt, basically. Which I can say from personal experience, because I was boxing with a buddy and one of my buddies hit me with a kidney shot. He hit me right in that same area. That's how I know that. That's how I know that. And he freaking shacked me good. So seeing that, I was like, ooh, that's a kidney shot. No wonder he got dropped. That thing hurts. I mean, it knocked the wind out of me.
Oh, yeah.
I was still standing, but afterwards I was like, all right, we done. I'm out of here. I got nothing. I got freaking walled. I'm done. It hurt a lot, and it knocks the wind out of you. So getting hit with a kidney shot, will jack you up. But does Boba just lie down and say, okay, I'm done, whatever, help carry me back to the Bacta tank? No. What does he do before he goes? He gets one last FU in and disintegrates the guy.
Oh, yeah.
Blows him up on the wall. How is that not classic Boba Fett? Classic no disintegrations Boba Fett. But I digress. So
I think
a lot of people look at this assassin fight and they say, oh, if he's so weak in this fight, how was he so good on the fight in Mando on Tython? Let's talk about the Tython
those were
fight.
stormtroopers.
Let's talk about the Tython fight because I got some words in the Tython fight. So, Tython fight, a little brief summary. Boba drops many stormtroopers with and without his armor and weapons. Boba and Fennec form a strategy on the fly and use the terrain to their advantage to protect Mando and Grogu. Upon returning with his armor, Boba becomes a one-man army, mowing down stormtroopers eventually, forcing troopers to retreat. And yes, that is a very good point. Well, they're stormtroopers. Training for stormtroopers is noticeably mid. They're not great shots. The stormtroopers,
And these
There's
were
a reason
assassins.
they're jokey cannon fodder.
Right.
So moving on to our next, the assassin versus Tython fight comparison. Why is Boba's performance of these two fights too different? A lot of people tend to ask. Simple. I give 3 reasons, and this is where my Batman fan comes out here. Prep time, terrain advantage, and loadout familiarity of his enemies. So on Tython, Boba and Fennec have enough time from when the ships land to be able to formulate a strategy to deal with the stormtroopers, while Mos Espa, they're surprised and they're jumped. And as you can see, when they're inside the shields, they're trying to find ways out. Like Boba tries to rocket them, and Fennec tries to jump on the shields, but they're still, workshopping how to get out of the shields while they're being attacked, mind you. It's not like they're just staying there and like, hey, don't do anything to us. They're, poking and prodding at them the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more stress of a tenseful situation. Not to mention, any fight you're in, if you're surrounded, you're already like in a very bad position.
Yeah.
The goal is to escape. And the only reason he didn't just jetpack out of there, Fennec's there. He would have left his lieutenant to die. And that's
would it have even worked? Has he had time to repair it?
Yeah, his jetpack's been repaired.
Okay.
Yeah, his jetpack was working in Mando season 2. But yeah, his jetpack works. So and Cobb Vanth also repaired it. So it was repaired when Cobb Vanth got into possession of it, basically.
Okay.
The jetpack does work. So regardless, back to point number 2. On Tython, Boba and Fennec have lots of cover to deal with, and they stealthily dispose of their opponents while whittling down the stormtroopers' numbers with time. Like, for example, when you see Boba in that fight, taking on the stormtroopers, I can't play it because I don't want us to get like flagged or anything.
Right.
But there are scenes of him hiding behind rocks, using the terrain to his advantage, jumping out, attacking one stormtrooper that's slightly separated from the rest, and then peeling off. He's using hit and run tactics. He's going quick, he's going for a kill, and he's getting out. There's not a whole lot of room for the enemy to breathe. Which shoes on the other foot with the assassin fight. They're on a busy street, hitting them and basically probing them and trying to whittle them down until they can get them both exhausted enough to pass out to where they can basically nab them. I think that's the goal of that fight. Because if they were trying to be lethal, they would have just had a sniper and shoot him.
Right.
So obviously they want them alive. So it's a little bit different of a scenario to begin with. But that's just my theory. There's no evidence to back that up at this moment.
Fair.
Also, finally on Tython, the stormtroopers have standard stormtrooper loadouts, which we know Boba has familiarity with because of the Sarlacc Pit. For example, I don't know the standard loadout of like a U.S. Army soldier right now. So if like someone was like, hey, get something useful off this soldier's body, I'm gonna he doesn't have his gun though. I'd be like, well, shit, I don't know. Like, what's he got? Some bungee cords, maybe? I don't know. But Boba knew enough about the stormtroopers to say they've got oxygen in their masks. Let me pull it out. Breathe. Still alive. So that shows that he's familiar with stormtroopers on a pretty well understanding level. Not to mention, stormtroopers are common. They're everywhere. You pretty much know what an E11 blaster does just by looking at it. Like, okay, we know what that does. We know what their armor's like. We know where to hit them. We know where not to hit them. These assassins, on the other hand, are using shields and electro batons. very uncommon weapons, very non-lethal weapons. So it's interesting to kind of see the difference.
Yeah.
On what they're used. Sorry, I had a hiccup there for a second. So moving on to my conclusion. You're wrong. No, I'm just messing. It's obviously, this is all subjective. This is just my way of rationalizing it as a fan. You know, if someone's just like, hey, I don't like the episode, wasn't for me, cool. That's fine. But in conclusion, Boba Fett is not performing at his peak in the Book of Boba Fett for many reasons. These are, number one, his age. He's getting up there in age, you know. Boba Fett's getting older. He's not going to fight like a 20-year-old Boba Fett or a 30-year-old Boba Fett. You know, he's in his 40s now. Body starts to slow down in your 40s. Not to the point of like, you know, you're not useless when you get.
Some people do say that's like when you hit 40, that's the cap of how high your body can get physically.
I've heard a lot younger than 40. So
Really?
I'd have to verify that. But like, for example, my dad's, he works construction, very, very much in shape, very, very fit guy. And he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
You know,
My dad's a firefighter.
Pretty
He's
strong
an ultra runner.
Exactly. So they're not saying that, oh, just because you're old, you're useless. But like, I'm sure your dad deals with this too. But my dad comes home at night and he's like, hey, I'm tired. You know, my body hurts. I got arthritis in my fingers, and he has a little gun he used, a little massage gun he uses to kind of help, you know, help his muscles recover for the next day.
Dude, those things are great.
Oh, they're amazing. I love it so much. But anyway, so then on top of his age, Boba has underlying health conditions from his long career as a bounty hunter, exposure to Sarlacc stomach acid, and 5 long, hard years in the deserts of Tatooine. Also, number 3, unlike the fight in Tython, Boba Fett and Fennec were ambushed in a strategically disadvantaged position and were attacked with uncommon weaponry, especially the shields, because, I mean, you don't really see them that much. I mean, if you can count on one hand how many times we've seen shields in Star Wars.
Right.
They're not very common. The fact that I forgot one in one of my favorite arcs of the Clone Wars tells you how rare they are, which I am punching the air for because I now remember it and I was like, darn, why did I forget that? But despite these odds, Boba and Fennec held their own, survived the fight with a late kidney shot, combined with previously sustained injuries. Incapacitated Boba was no mood, no way to give chase because he was down. He was like, all right, I'm down. Get me in the back to tank, get me healed up. I think next episode, Boba's gonna come back with a vengeance. But despite all that he endured, Boba Fett continues to be the bounty hunter we all know and love. He may have been knocked down, but he's still not out of the fight. After the brawl with the assassins, the injured Boba is brought back to tank. I fully believe he's going to be gunning for those who have wronged him in his new crime syndicate in episode 2. And the best of this show is yet to come. Just give it time. There are my sources.
I like this.
This is good college level shit right here. All right, we're going to stop screen sharing now.
That was
something.
That was good stuff. I liked that.
Thank
you said you had a presentation going this, and I was like, all right.
I was prepared, dude.
I wasn't sure what to expect, but that was spectacular.
And again, I want to reiterate this for the people that have negative opinions and have legitimate criticisms about the episode. That's fine. We're allowed to disagree. I just personally really enjoyed the episode, so I wanna go to bat and defend something that I really enjoyed. And some people, they may expect more, may want more. That's fine. Somebody, I think it was Star Wars Explained I watched, said it along the lines of like this. He said, it's kind of like, and I may be misattributing this quote. It's been a long day. Don't at me. But he said something like, it'd be like judging a meal off of the appetizer alone.
Ooh,
like,
that's good.
That's not really fair to do. And I know that's not the exact quote, but it's a very similar notion of it. It's like, oh, we're judging a 6-7 course meal off of the appetizer. Like, and here's the thing, you may not like that appetizer. That's okay. There's so much more to come. Like all the stuff in the trailers, I don't know if you've heard, those only come from the first 2 episodes. So there's so much we haven't even seen yet. They're playing this one really close to the chest. And I'm frankly excited. I'm excited to see where this show goes. You got any thoughts you want to share?
Boba Fett's hot. I mean, what?
I said
Thoughts. Let's see. I want to see Boba Fett in Mortal Kombat.
I think he would do great. I think
that'd be amazing.
Character. Well, think
Honestly,
of
a Star Wars fighting game would be amazing.
There actually is a Star Wars fighting game.
You're kidding. What?
It was years ago, and it was for the Wii.
It was for the Wii?
It was for the Wii. It was a lightsaber battles game where my sister and I used to play it all the time, where the controls were not good. Like,
oh, that's probably why I haven't heard of it.
It was not a great game,
no?
But it was a lot of fun. My sister would I'd play with her, and she would just jump up and down and just randomly mash buttons, and she would do just as well as me when I actually played with strategy and trying to learn the combos and stuff like that. So it's an actual fighting game because that's exactly how it goes. Like when
shoot.
Like when I play Mortal Kombat, I just mash buttons. I don't know what's going on. And it's like, hey, show me how to move. Show me how to block. I'm good. Figure it out from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I cannot remember that name of that game for the life of me, but it was rough. It was a very rough game.
Not the most polished in the world.
No. It came out right along the time of the Clone Wars movie. And a lot of the scenes and set pieces kind of take place from the Clone Wars movie. So what does that tell you?
Okay.
What does that tell you? To be fair though, I actually like that movie. We can do an episode on that. I haven't
seen it in ages. It's been so long.
I would love to watch that movie and then jump to like season 7 and just see the difference.
That'd be a jump.
That'd be a big jump. And I'm a Clone Wars fan. Like there's very little, I will say, negative about the Clone Wars. Except for the D Squad arc. I'm not a fan of D Squad.
You're not a fan of Domino Squad.
No, not Domino Squad. Domino Squad I love. D Squad is the droid squad.
Oh, that's one of George Lucas's favorite episodes.
I know.
When they're out in the void.
I know, George. I watched that episode with a very 12-year-old boy mindset of like, bro, this episode sucks. There's no explosions. So I haven't rewatched it since then because I've got that negative taste in my mouth. I need to go back and rewatch that episode.
I mean, that arc gave us Gregor, so
it did give us Gregor. I will give it that.
Gregor.
I do love Gregor. That episode definitely. So that episode used to redeem itself for me. And I know we're getting a little off topic here, but when Clone Wars came out, I watched that thing on Friday nights. Like we used to get together as a family on Friday nights, like pop popcorn and just watch the Clone Wars. Like that was our routine.
You see, I did not have. I'm like the designated nerd of my family.
Okay.
Like I did not have like a Star Wars loving family. It was pretty much I managed to scrounge together the movies from family friends. I watched them horrifically out of order, but I managed to get them all there. And then when I was older, I managed to be able to watch them all in order again.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We're gonna definitely have to we're definitely gonna have to talk about that some more with because our next episode, I've already got it planned out. Our next episode is gonna be our origin story.
Yeah.
Talking about where our sort of love for fandoms and stuff came from. I think that would be a great topic to talk about on that episode.
Absolutely.
But I think let's wrap this one up. I think we've said pretty much everything we need to say on Book of Boba Fett, unless there's anything else you want to add.
I mean, we do just have episode 1 so far to talk
Exactly.
about.
So episode 1, I think what we'll try to do is we'll try to talk about at least 1 or 2 episodes a week. If you know, if there's like a lull, maybe we'll talk about 2 and 3 together and kind of see how that goes. We'll play it by ear. That's why you got to follow us on Instagram at Under the Helmet Pod, all one word. Gotta get that little plug in there. You know how it goes.
Plug it.
Plug the Insta. Which I believe I put the link to that in our description. If not, I will have to go back and look. I'm still figuring out this whole YouTube thing. So even though
it's perhaps not the easiest, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. Slowly but surely. But anyway, so what we'll end on this with episode 1 in the books. What are you most looking forward to with Book of Boba Fett? What are you looking to see most out of it?
Honestly, one of the things I'm liking about Book of Boba Fett is because there really was like no advertisement whatsoever. I have no expectations. I have nothing that I'm really like particularly looking for. I'm just going into it being like, this is Star Wars. I'm excited to see Star Wars again. Because it's been a long time since Bad Batch and Visions.
Yes, it has.
Like we were hitting pretty good there because we had Bad Batch and then Visions dropped.
Mm-hmm. And then it kind of went on this low where we had all this Marvel content, but nothing really was Star Wars.
Yeah, like we had everything announced back at the start of the year, but
yeah, we had all those announcements, and it was just like, cool, give me something real.
Can we see some of the things? And they were like, no. Do you have any trailers? No.
Also, some of the stuff's been canceled now, but whatever.
Yeah. Here, we're gonna give you this present just so we can take it away.
Rangers of the New Republic. I think that's the only one I've seen that's been canceled. I could have lived without that.
I had high hopes for that one. I thought that was going to be really cool because honestly, I want to see more of like the New Republic's rise to power because like it can't have been easy for them.
I really enjoyed that. So have you read the Aftermath books?
I haven't. I need to because I know that's where Cobb Vanth first shows up.
Yeah. So I read the first Aftermath book.
Okay.
I was not a fan of a lot of the writing. I think this is just me personally, but the way Chuck Wendig wrote, and I may have to go back and reread this because at the time my attention span was really low.
Oh no, I get you.
Books. So it was definitely a very hard read for me. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a bad story. I thought the story was good and it had a lot of very interesting concepts. And it just wasn't my type of story.
I get that. I mean, you can like a story and not like the way that story is written.
Honestly, this is going to sound kind of, this is on topic, but it's 100% true. My favorite part of that book was Cobb Vanth's story.
Okay.
Was when they mentioned him. So basically, I have the first one. It's over here on my shelf. I'm gonna walk over and see which one it is real quick.
Ooh,
I read just Aftermath, the first one.
Yeah.
So there's Aftermath, Empire's End, and then there's another. And there's oh god, I'm shaking my whole desk, making a mess. But yeah, so I read the first Aftermath book, and basically all that happens in that story is Cobb Vanth, and it's a little bit differently than it's told in The Mandalorian. But basically, if my memory serves correctly, Cobb Vanth and a guy from the Mining Collective go to a sandcrawler and negotiate with the Jawas for Boba Fett's armor. And I can't remember the exact it was described, but they described it as like this old like Mandalorian armor, basically. And I was just like, oh shoot, it's Boba Fett. Cool.
Boba Fett.
I was and then basically Cobb Vanth and the guy are both like, the guy's like, well, I'm gonna buy the armor. And Vanth is like, nope, I'm taking it. And he's like, whoa there, partner, what are you gonna do? And Vanth just shoots him. Yeah. It's like they're like getting ready for the standoff, and Vanth just one shots him.
I'm imagining the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Exactly. It's kind of like that. I also think of it a lot like the scene from Bad Batch with Cad Bane and Hunter.
Yeah.
It gave me kind of that vibe before that was a thing. But basically, yeah. So Vanth shoots him and basically tells him like, "Oh, don't worry about the armor. Your friends in the mining collective are gonna see that real soon." My cowboy coming out. I love Cobb Vanth. So little side here. I wasn't originally a Boba Fett fan. I was not a Boba Fett fan until The Mandalorian, believe it or not. And I will say why.
We didn't see enough of him?
I thought he was overrated. I was just like, whatever. I didn't read any of the Legends books with Boba Fett. I like knew some of his story, but I was kind of like, he's a bounty hunter guy. Is he cool? Yeah. Does he look cool? But I was always more of a Jedi guy than Mandalorian. So it never really like resonated with me until this is gonna sound crazy, until Cobb Vanth appeared in The Mandalorian. Because because when they kind of teased Boba Fett in Mandalorian season 1, I was kind of just like, oh, Boba Fett, maybe. Cool. Not a big deal. And then I went after Cobb Vanth showed up, and it was Boba Fett's armor. I was so excited for that helmet. Like, I went online that night and scoured the internet for a Black Series Boba Fett helmet because I wanted to cosplay Cobb Vanth. I didn't give a flying fadoodle.
Dude, you could pull that off so well.
I know. I'm gonna do it. It's on my list. Yes. But after seeing, Mando season 2 and Mando ends up with Boba Fett's armor, I was like, and they had the Boba Fett tease at the end. I was like, oh shoot, Boba Fett just gave up. Like Boba Fett just quit being Boba Fett. And then this magical thing happened after Ahsoka showed up. Boba Fett goes to Tython, and the ship flies down from the sky, and it's the Slave One. As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, I'm kind of hyped for Boba Fett, not gonna lie. And then just his personality and his mannerisms in Mandalorian, I was like, okay, I have a tremendous amount of respect for this guy. The way that he's come back from it all, and he's like, I don't care about, your armor or the kid. This doesn't bother me. He's like, I just want my armor. You're a means to an end. I got other plans. You're just a side quest for me. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I've gone back and kind of like relearned a bit about Boba Fett, and I've really grown to like the character to where I definitely want to have the re-armored helmet sitting in my Amazon cart waiting for payday.
I mean, you know me, I'm rocking my own Mando armor. It's in pieces and needs some work, but I do be rocking the Mando armor.
Do be rocking the Mando armor. Absolutely. That do be your profile picture though.
Oh, I love it though. I love it. And I love my little, I forget who did, I think it was Spectrum 237 who did this like new coloration of it. Because that was back when I worked at Lego. Those were good days.
Yeah, dude. I'm a huge fan of once I started getting into like the cosplay community online and seeing all these awesome Mandalorian cosplayers. I was hooked. I was like, this is awesome. This is a community of people that are like really cool that have, and a lot of these people, a lot of, cosplayers are huge Boba Fett fans. So to see them happy in a way that was like, oh, the king is back, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was here for it.
You want to talk about the return of the king. Max Rebo is alive.
Yes, we didn't even touch on that. Max freaking Rebo.
And he's funking up the original Cantina song.
Their vibe,
it's so good.
The sail barge explosion. So, how did Max Rebo survive, do you think?
I mean, he crawled his way across the sands of Tatooine to Mos Espa.
I think I think a little bit differently. So I think Max Rebo is well in touch with the jizz side of the force.
All right.
Because
This.
they say, the music never dies.
All right.
Well, jizz, for those who don't know, is a style of music. That's what the Cantina Band song is. It's jizz music. I think Max Rebo is so in tune with the jizz. He has transcended reality and has become a living embodiment of the jizz force.
All right.
And because of that, he simply cannot die. He was never even on the sail barge. He was just astral projecting himself, like Luke in The Last Jedi. But you see,
You think he was sitting back in Jabba's palace the whole time?
I think Max Rebo wasn't even in Jabba's palace, because Max Rebo is simply wherever he wants to be. He's on Canto Bight, rolling snake eyes. He's in Cloud City, jacking that dude's ice cream maker. He's wherever he wants to be, simply because he is Max Rebo. And you're not going to say no to the king of jizz.
It's true.
King of jizz, Max Rebo.
I think that's a good spot to end this.
I think that's a perfect spot to end. Video. King of jizz.
King of jizz.
King of jizz, Max Rebo.
God, if we weren't gonna call this Why You're Wrong About Boba Fett, I feel like we need to call it that. Answer no questions about the title.
Under the Helmet Jizz Cast.
Oh, God. Yep.
All right. So with that being said, thank you, everybody. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and follow us on Instagram to know when our next video is going to be up.
Comment your favorite jizz track.
Exactly. Comment your favorite jizz song or song in general in Star Wars. And with that, we will see you guys next time. All right. Goodbye.